everybody. Welcome to this episode of Party of Two, a theme parks podcast, right here on Party of Two, a theme parks podcast. Man, when you do the same sign-ons for like 5 years, even if the place and the show changes, the format never does.
Well, shake it up.
Shake it up. I would.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
So, welcome to this. We are a theme parks podcast where, though primarily, as you can tell from our most recent season, we've been a little bit in Disney Town for various circumstances. But leading up to D23, there's a reason, and we'll get into that in a second. I'm one of your hosts, the Internet's Mark B. Donica.
I am one of your other hosts, the Internet's Andrea Donica.
Hi, everybody. As you can tell from the title, we're going to be talking about the Land Pavilion today. But before we do, we've been going to the parks a lot.
Yes, I have been dragging Mark, poor thing, every single weekend, keeping him on his feet after he's been on his feet all week at work.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
Yeah, it's definitely been fun.
Sweating so much
I think
in the humidity.
The sheer amount that we've been going this past couple of weeks, I would say 5 weeks of solid going at least once every weekend.
Yeah, pretty much.
I say at least once, but it's one of those things where I think just within those 5 weeks, we about have our annual passes paid for, and which is good because we use them a lot. And I think the strangest thing is that in terms of travel time, we're only a little bit less of a distance and travel time from the parks as we were to Disneyland back in California.
Well, the difference here is that we can kind of rely on how long the drive is going to be, because back when we were living in LA, if you wanted to go to Disneyland, you had to go at specific windows out of the day. If you wanted to go in the morning, you needed to leave by like 6 a.m. to beat rush hour traffic. And if you wanted to go in the afternoon, I mean, if you leave after 11:30 a.m., you're going to be stuck in traffic for 2 to 3 hours on average. And that's no fun. And then if you wanted to do a shorter trip and you wanted to head back, it's kind of the same thing unless you wait until after rush hour is over. You might as well, you have to stay all day because it just doesn't work any other way.
Yeah, and with the way that the roads are connected and handled on the Walt Disney World property, it's never too bad to get to or from the main roads.
Yeah.
And even, like, so we went for the 4th of July, as we essentially discussed, to confirmed doing the last episode that went up, and boy, that was just a mixed bag of ridiculousness. So one of the main things that we don't have to deal with, at least in the Disney parks over in California, is the sheer amount of drunk people. And what's worse than drunk rowdy people? Drunk, rowdy people on the 4th of July.
And dragging their poor kids
Those
along
poor
with
kids.
them. Like, I mean, true. A lot of people will complain about children doing bad things or just not behaving, whining, smacking each other. But, you can try and place blame on them all you want, but they learned that from somewhere, or they've just not been taught any better. And there's their parents standing right there and not paying attention, not doing any parenting, usually until things have gone way past the point of no return, where they should have stepped in a long time ago, and everyone else has been suffering around residually.
Yeah, it was a little rough. We wanted to do some of the main patriotic offerings. You got to have what was it, the shortcake? What is it called?
Yeah, the berry shortcake.
Yeah.
And I think that the Land Pavilion typically has something like that. It's just they made sure to have it be red, white, and blue for the day with a little white chocolate Mickey Mouse patriotic
and the
image on it.
blueberries.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It was light.
Really refreshing.
Yeah.
Still, Disney whipped cream is very, very sugary and heavy. It's heavy. It's dense.
It's like butter whipped cream.
Yeah.
Not like buttercream and whipped cream mixed.
It holds its shape. I get why they do it too, so that it doesn't melt. It was good. It was really, really good. And you had an amazing.
I had the turtle brownie, which I think is just a standard offering.
Oh sure,
really
but
good.
it was
like
so good.
And I'm not necessarily a chocolate person, but I don't know why that was calling to me. I really don't know why. It was just like, here, because I got the pulled pork, which was, I mean, pretty patriotic, I suppose, which was good but small. So I was like.
But I got that turkey sandwich that was helpful enough for the both of us.
Like, you know you see like a wedge salad, like a wedge sandwich.
My eyes were immediately drawn to them. I was like, "Oh, it's so big, I have to have it."
It was a Slammin' Sammy.
It was so good.
It was good, but we show up, we go on Living with the Land, and see we're bringing it back to the theme, and we ate at first time eating at the Land Pavilion. It's good.
It was good.
Yeah.
They have better offerings than most standard theme park food fare.
They offer pizza as a sandwich. That's interesting.
Was confusing, to say the
It
least.
was probably because it's mostly bread.
I guess that's fair, and I mean, I guess I would understand it more if it was a calzone instead, because then it's sandwiched on both sides.
Or just make a pizza sandwich.
I mean, I guess you could do that.
Yeah.
Just get like Italian garlic bread.
Or just garlic bread.
Sure.
But we took a trip to the America Pavilion. Surprise. It was relatively crowded. Yeah. We didn't get a chance to listen to the Voices of Liberty, but we've listened to them before. And
and oh my gosh, people were lining up like crazy to listen to Voices of Liberty, as they should. But I mean, it was rough that day. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was real bad. We saw the American Adventure, which continues to be really good.
Really solid show.
And we waited in line. I would like to say Andrea waited in line while I was pacing back and forth between countries because I was dying of heat. It was awful.
I just wanted to take a picture with a character in patriotic garb.
And we did.
I really wanted to. We had already missed the boat for
it was
the main
Mickey, Goofy, and Pluto.
Yeah. But I love me some Chippendale, and thankfully I saw a long line. Mark and I were like, hey, we should probably get in this. And then Mark dropped me off there, and he checked, and I was lucky enough. We were one of the last few people
we were like
actually...
in the last 15, 20, last dozen, maybe. But the line moved as fast as it could. They get, now after the fact of not burning alive in Epcot, I can say that they made sure that the characters had plenty of breaks, which in that heat, I can only imagine. I wonder if it was even the same two characters.
I don't think it would be right if it was. And I could kind of see they had a little bit of a ways to walk from backstage because you could kind of see from the line when they had the door open.
Yeah.
So, and it was really cute. The cast members would say when they needed to take their breaks that they needed to check in on an acorn pie that they were baking to make sure it wasn't burning.
Which is very, very adorable. And while it was a little maddening at the time, it was all very cute and very,
Oh, and
everything
Chip gave me the best hug I have ever gotten.
I was wearing my my Hamilton shirt, and Dale was, or no, it was Chip. Chip gave me a high five for it, like read it, and then gave me a high five, and like cool. I saw one other person wearing my same shirt that day, and a bunch of other people wearing various Hamilton shirts, which I feel is one of the better patriotic things to wear in these trying times.
Yeah, absolutely.
But from there, we took just a bit of a tour overall. We finally got to spend some additional time in the China Pavilion, and we saw Reflections of China. Right? Is that what it's called?
I think so.
We're still learning with the land, and What I love
Well,
that entire pavilion is
yeah.
just so lovely.
Mm-hmm.
We found that they sell Shanghai Disneyland merchandise there.
Which was really exciting. I had kind of hoped that the Japan Pavilion would carry some of that stuff too. Haven't seen anything there, but they had 1 year anniversary stuff
I think
for Shanghai.
maybe it's a Mitsukoshi thing. Maybe it's the brand that operates all of the stuff there.
That's possible.
But we got year one, like opening season pins from Shanghai Disneyland. Woof, like beyond surprised.
Yeah.
And some tea, which I'm very happy for, very earthy tea, pu'er tea, which I'm a bit of a fan of. It was real inexpensive, and I hope it's good.
Well, my sense when you buy stuff like tea or food or snacks that are directly inside of any of the World Showcase pavilions, they kind of price it out kind of normally if you went to, I would imagine, a grocery store that would carry any of those items. And I'm totally down with and fine with that. I mean, the fact that you can find certain things and actually just go and get them is really wonderful. Really wonderful. It's stuff that is really hard to obtain otherwise, because that's just not always going to be stuff that's locally sourced in your own Publix or Vons or what have you.
Yeah, it was a wonderful time to spend there. We got a cocktail.
Yes.
With some baijiu for me, but
I got the Tipsy Ducks in Love at the Joy of Tea little stand outside of the China Pavilion.
Yeah, I got whatever the baijiu with coconut and pineapple. That was good. Some really cool stuff that I would like to spend a lot more time in each pavilion. It seems like I think I'd like to say that moving forward now, I would like to spend as much time in each of the pavilions. Like, we pick a couple pavilions for the day so that we can spend an extensive amount of time, because there's a lot to see. And with our first visit, we skimmed through a lot. We made sure to look a little bit more into the France Pavilion, which we finally got a chance to, and we saw Impression de France.
Ouais.
Fantastic.
So beautiful and interesting to hear some of the different music homages and different things that are incorporated.
It's all very themes. French.
Yes, as it should be.
Yeah, but we finally watched that film, and I think now we been on every attraction in Epcot. I think we finally have. Yeah, that was the last one, and we went through a little bit of the streets of France and got to see some stuff before. And we went to the little quick stop restaurant that I had no idea was there. The bakery. Yes, I had no idea that was there, because we remember asking each other, it was like, is there a quick service in France that we could go to?
Everything is so buried inside. You have to really explore all of the nooks and crannies of the different pavilions to find things, which is kind of exciting, but also frustrating if you haven't done your research and then just go. It's interesting, we're becoming locals and we're now learning these things, but we're still trying to figure them out, and you want to partially be able to stumble upon things and discover them for yourself. I do plenty of research online, but even if I know that there is a thing there, like I know that there is a crepe stand somewhere. Not 100% sure where it is. That was on the water. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. But there's always so much going on the street. There are different live acts. There's a lot of traffic of people moving around. And then on top of that, you're fighting the humidity and trying to stay sane and conscientious. And I would say, like, if you were to just go, my dream would be to just have a week at Epcot just exploring everything. And even then, I don't know if I would see everything that I really wanted enough.
No, but I mean, what we got to enjoy some sweet, sweet food.
Oh my gosh, so good.
And from a person with French family and who has traveled to France, how would you rate the food?
It was quite good. Quite good. I'm satisfied.
Well, you're getting emotional again?
I always do. Every time I think about Epcot and I think about the foods and
but even
the
more
drink,
so this one that is so
it's close to my heritage, close to home, close to family. You know, just that you can pop in and get a fresh baguette.
Quote pop in. The line was very long.
Okay, yes. Well, and that was kind of the funny thing too. We got out of the movie, and basically a good percentage of the people that watched it just got in line for the food. That was pretty entertaining. And it was cool to see too, you know, everyone just, like, your eyes are always bigger than your stomach. But they have all of this different, they have so many different options there for things to eat and to try. And there's a bakery, and they have sandwiches, they have soups, they have salads, and you can get a bunch of different things and be able to really have like a full palette of what tastes of France are, which is really nice.
Yeah, and we ordered stuff with the purpose of staking out a place for illuminations, because there's the special 4th of July thing that they had, and we just sat and ate all of our food and took the desserts with us, which we only ate after we left the park, which we still have those macarons that we should.
Yes, we need to finish.
We should finish those. But when it came to illuminations, we didn't have as optimal of a viewing spot as we wanted, but at the same time, it was cool.
It was cool.
Like the 4th of July part, pretty dang cool.
Oh yeah, those fireworks were excellent.
Rad, very close, very loud.
Yeah.
Those poor ducks.
The ducks were so freaked out.
They were, yeah. It was a little rough, but at the same time, I like how you could see the different fireworks shows off in the distance. And when it came to Magic Kingdom, they were piping in the music for theirs,
which I thought was really, really cool. And where we were walking and where we would stand, it was just perfect center viewing. Just, you know, it was more miles away, but still pretty good viewing.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
I would say one of the only things that was bad about it is that there were a lot of people just sort of standing and watching.
Yeah.
And the avenues to leave were awful. One of the worst crowd control situations I think we'd ever been in since like the 50th.
Oh man.
Because there was some really bad stuff back at that time when they
50th of Disneyland, in case anyone is wondering.
Either way.
Yeah.
But we also came to the conclusion that any cast members in the way would probably just make things a little worse.
Yeah, I mean, they needed to be. They had to be out of the way. There's just only so many logical directions, and the thing is, there's quite a few tarps in different places just not available to walk towards right now in Epcot because they're doing so much maintenance and work that, you know, either you're getting onto the ferry to go back to Swan and Dolphin. The new Skyliner buckets, they're not open yet. They're getting close. And once they are, that's going to help. It'll help a lot. But I think in the meantime, everybody is rushing back towards the main entrance and exit. So everyone is heading towards Spaceship Earth.
Well, I think that's one of the problems with the current setup is the fact that they have they go up to closing. Like, you needed to be the park needs to be at its darkest in order to do stuff. But if the park was open till 10, then you have people heading into each of the pavilions for food, for an attraction, for this, for that, and then the people who are leaving get to leave, as opposed to everybody sticking around for the main event and everybody having to leave at the same time, and only a certain number of shops are open. And especially, it seemed more so, I don't know if it was just because of the rain or if all of the shops close that early before the end of the night, because then there's nowhere else to go.
Well, Mouse Gear is open still, but
you have to get to Future World for that.
You have to get to Future World, and this is why I think they should have, parks in general shouldn't close right before their last night show
Their kiss
or
goodnight.
whatever. Give the park at least another hour for people to filter out, and you can say, well, Mouse Gear will be open for another hour. Yeah, but you can't like jump on a ride to get out of the way. You can't pop into the China Pavilion to wait for the crowds to settle. Like, everyone is walking the same way, and it's a freaking nightmare.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Well, even more so, two sides of the entire World Showcase are convening into a tiny hallway. and so here's where we're going to start dipping into our topic, because one of the things that the Epcot refurb, I think, could use is more avenues toward the World Showcase.
Yeah.
And if you have one extra walkway on either side, that's about 8 people wide. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, there are tarps over everything, but at the same time, more access ways. Disneyland proved that they don't use them all the time, but they have them, and when they do need to use them, it frees up so much space. The walkways on either side of Main Street are very ridiculously helpful.
They're a godsend.
Yeah. And even if... No, I think I'm just going to leave it there. That's one of the just general hopes that I have for the Epcot refurb, and so that's technically a part of Future World. I'd make them a little bit bigger walkways, because there is that one that you took that empties out to Mexico.
Yeah, but
we don't, or if there is one for the other side, it's currently under a tarp and it's severely missed.
There used to be a place next to the Imagination Pavilion that you could go from there to World Showcase, but that's been closed off, I believe, since they switched over from the original Journey into Imagination
to the last one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
But you know what doesn't suck? The
land.
The Land Pavilion. So one of the things that we've been doing, in case this is your first episode, is we've been going back to some of the pavilions and sort of giving our take on what we hope, what makes sense for this upcoming possible touch-up that Imagineering has been talking about. They talked about it the last D23, and we're supposed to get more details this D23. So this is sort of our countdown to D23 2019, as well as just now, especially that we're living here, what we think can be done better. And when it comes to the land, they're so far so good.
Honestly, what I love about the Land Pavilion, and something that I know a lot of people that are original Epcot Center fans, they love that the Land Pavilion is really the closest to how it was originally when the park first opened. And it still holds up really nicely. And, you know, I remember when we visited Epcot back in 2017, and we really didn't know everything, and we were just kind of like rushing through all this stuff.
But we did go on Living with the Land.
We didn't.
I thought we did.
Oh, no, we didn't.
Huh.
Of course, it was like a 5-minute wait at the time. It wouldn't have taken us any time, but we didn't go. And there's so many things that we missed from that first trip that we had no idea. Mm-hmm. And then coming into it now, it's like, this is really solid. These are technologies that are really fascinating to learn about. It's kind of, it's intriguing how fascinating agriculture is. And it's not something that you would on the surface think that would be all that interesting if you're not involved in farming or anything like that. But it was really cool. Just every time that we go, there are these boats full of people that are like, oh, look at that. On our last trip, there was that kid sitting in the front row. And, he's wearing his Mickey Mouse gloves and he's pointing at things and he's like, Mom, look at this. Mom, look at that. And it really made my heart just like swell with pride. Like, hey, yeah, this is actually really cool. These alternative ways of looking at the future for growing things, thinking about the future, what we can do to be more resourceful and take care of our resources, recycle the things that we have, the hydroponics ideas, just like all of these different things are still really intriguing.
And also, some of the planting methods have been made into like a made for TV or as seen on TV products. Like seeing the vertical growth of the tomatoes and peppers and things reminds me of the topsy-turvy, which yeah. So, like, there's a lot of stuff that has since been implemented to a little bit of a wider scope, but the only thing that Living with the Land really needs, I would say, and I know you agree with me on this, is the ending.
Yeah.
Just with, like, the light-up video screens, as you said, it's like they got to the end, ran out of budget, and went, I got a Kinko's gift card.
Yeah.
So that's really the only thing that could use a bit of a touch up, but everything else is chef's kiss, like whatever. No, we're good. But when it comes to the rest of the pavilion, I think I think we were both very excited to eat there, because of the implication that the stuff that they grow is used on resort property, which it is.
Yeah.
But I was hoping that there was going to be more implemented for the casual dining.
Well, I do know that for the for sunshine seasons where we ate, I know that there are bits that are grown inside of the pavilion that are used in those dishes. I am 96% sure that the lettuce that I was biting into from the sandwich was something that was grown in Living with the Land.
And I bet the tomato.
Yeah.
There's probably a series of things that were, but it's not super visible. Like, it doesn't say, like, I wish on the menu it said as grown in Living with the Land, or like it had a picture of the area of the stuff, or I don't know. It's not necessarily as morbid when it comes to like vegetables and things, but if on Living with the Land, it's like featured in number 4 at the Sunshine Seasons or whatever. But just so that there's a little bit more, because kids love that stuff. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Where people go, oh, that's Mom, can we eat there? It's even more excitement from that thing. It's like, oh, we were just on a ride where we saw that lettuce and I'm eating that lettuce. Heck yes, I'm all about it. But other than that, we still need to eat at the sit-down restaurant. Yes,
which is just steeped in history. And even though it's gotten 3 different names over the years, the fact that it spins around with Living with the Land and you get to see those different first couple of scenes inside the ride, pretty darn cool. And apparently that's also a really good place to get character dining as well.
Yeah, isn't
Chip and Dale are stars in there too.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the food taken care of. Living with the Land, one little thing. Soarin', fine. The fact that they have 3 theaters for it, I wish it was a little bit more inspired than an airport. It makes sense.
Yeah, that's the one thing. It makes sense. But as you were noting, it's kind of depressing.
It's
walking
very
up.
Depressing. Like the unload
the
area,
waiting
like
area.
there's a waiting area or the child swap area or whatever that looks like an airport. Not lobby. It looks like a seating area at an airport terminal, and everybody, anytime you're there, it's kids, parents sitting with a kid that's not having a good time, and it reminds you of bad flying experience. Excuse me. It reminds you of bad flying experiences, which nobody wants to remember, especially at the quote happiest place on earth. So for goodness sakes, that needs to be changed up just a little bit. Even if it's easy thing that stays within theming, you just hang up a couple of those like motivational posters and make them all about flight or something. Just a tiny little soupçon, just a little like Salt Bay of something.
My greatest hope for sprucing things up a little bit before the anniversary, just replace the frickin' carpet. It smells. It really smells like there has been a lot going on, a lot growing inside of those fibers. And a good cleanup would be ideal. I truly think.
I really hope that we just get a little something.
Yeah.
You know? And while a lot of the space in the Land Pavilion is currently being taken up by Soarin', that doesn't mean that there isn't any place to go. But gone are the days of a new animatronic show a la Kitchen Cabaret or Food Rocks, but that's fine.
But we're going to be getting that new show called Awesome Planet.
Yeah, it looks like a takeoff of Planet Earth, and it's just going to show some sweet, presumably 4K footage of just remarkable natural weather occurrences on Earth.
Which will be really cool, and I'm hoping maybe they'll have some in-house 4D effects. As we
water
say.
Splashing, lava splashing,
yeah, sure,
dirt splashing,
wind, scents, etc.
Water, heart, go planet, something. But I agree. But then we start going a little bit into Honey, I Shrunk the Audience territory.
No, I don't want any rats or snakes wiggling around my feet.
We go into Universal Ride territory where there's
splash
of water.
Splash of water. And that's another
Screen
thing too.
And a splash of water.
No moving seats, please. Please, no moving seats. I'm just done with all of those attractions. There's too many.
Yup.
There's way too many.
So
it's also really tight inside of the pavilion. There's really not a whole lot they can do about that, unfortunately. But
yeah, but though it's really unfortunate that the ride entrance to Living with the Land is kind of tucked under a stairwell, like it's Harry Potter's room. But I wish there was a little bit more of a to do about Living with the Land, because when you walk in, you look down, and you're not necessarily like everything's just oddly hidden. I think maybe that's why we didn't really do anything in the Land Pavilion last time. Is just because we're like, is this a food court? Is that all it is?
I don't know if we even stepped into the Land Pavilion, period.
Well,
another thing that I want to say, though.
Okay.
I love the tile work at the entrance to the Land Pavilion. It is so beautiful, and something that I'd love to see. I don't necessarily expect them to do it. They probably won't, but I'd love to see that expanded further into the pavilion itself.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see and note that while the sponsors of the pavilion led to, like Kitchen Cabaret and Food Rocks, they're gone.
But Chiquita Banana...
Chiquita is the sponsor of Living with the Land, and the only real thing that you get from it is when you see the banana plants and it says Chiquita next to it. But when you're getting off the ride, it's like, thank you for riding Living with the Land, sponsored by Chiquita, blah, 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 blah. Please watch your step as you get out of the boat, blah, blah, blah.
And it's nice to see that there are some sponsorships still left over in Future World, and this is one of those places where you feel like it's going to be something reliable, that there will always potentially be some sort of a food sponsorship within the pavilion, not necessarily for the entirety of it, but somewhere.
And it doesn't really affect the messaging.
Yeah.
It's a little weird to hear Living with the Land sponsored by Chiquita, but other than that, the ride is the same. The technology for displaying all this different stuff is really interesting and implemented in a cool way, but nothing overt. So when it comes to redoing the Land Pavilion,
you don't need to do all that much. Just clean it up, shine it up. What would you want to see for that last scene in Living with the Land, because it's something that I've noticed is there's a significant walkway just in front of those screens, right? And from what I'm guessing is that's probably an access point for the behind the scenes tour, because people have to physically get inside of the pavilion, kind of just off to the entrance for the attraction itself.
I think there's another entrance, because crossing the water doesn't make I bet there's another access point, and that could just be like a service walkway sort of a thing. But for that last scene, just something a little bit more timeless.
Yeah.
Like, you can still have those photos and implement them in a way, but if you
have them change at least, instead of flashing the same image over and over.
Like, that seems to be the only thing that's kind of dated.
Yeah.
Because the transition scene where you see the old types of farming with the new farming methods being implemented and all that stuff, that seems a lot more modern. And then when you get to the end and it's just lights flashing to activate pictures, like the Earth that's rotating, pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
What if give us the Earth made out of crops or something cute. Where like, or you see like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like popular or dominant crops or plants from a particular region that make up that region, and you see them sprout up or whatever, or like something a little bit more dynamic, because everybody just tunes out that last little bit.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't have to be much, because right now it's just at a pretty low level.
True. Some of the videos at the beginning of the ride could maybe use a little bit of updating themselves. Not all of the images, but like there were a couple of flashes of cast members within Living with the Land doing things, and I'm like, ooh, that looks very 80s, 90s video-esque. And it might not have been taken then, but it looks dated.
Yeah.
Just sprucing up, something that I've noticed especially too with a lot of attractions now. Film technology, you gotta keep maintaining it, because once it starts to get dirty or worn, it becomes very apparent within the attraction itself, because everything is blown up so much bigger, so those dark spots just become amplified pretty intensely.
Well, even more so, the looks of the cast members are dated.
Yeah.
So just fresh footage, 4K camera, working on something newer. Yeah. Or maybe the last message be a little bit more about conservation, and maybe starting a message of starting a little bit of a crop at home, like a miniature garden or something, just because they have that message a little bit that says home gardens even help a little bit too. Push that home just one last time, because one, that's a nice message, and two, you're selling mini gardens right as people exit the thing. So if a kid is like, oh, I want to help the earth or whatever, it really sucks to kind of say like, get to the kids, but for good stuff, if you can inspire kids to want to start gardens at home, and then you can get a garden and ship it back to wherever you are in the world, why the heck not?
It's really exciting for kids to work with their hands in that way too. I mean, I remember being a kid and growing my own sunflower garden, and I was always so excited when they would grow. They'd be bigger than I was, and I felt so much pride because I had planted those things. That was something that I looked forward to. And that's something, it's not like, hey, here's a Mickey Mouse face on top of this thing you're going to grow. It's like, no, this is something you've made with your hands. This is preserving something. This is growing something that you can eat, that your family can eat and share and remember certain things together.
I'll never forget when I had a mini garden when I was a kid, and it all fell out of my window and onto the carpet and permanently stained the carpet. Never forget.
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't allowed to do that anymore. It was
I'd love to have seen the look on your mom's face.
Oh, I can't remember, but I was just like, we tried like bleaching and this and that, but it was soil. I literally soiled the carpet. It was awful, but it's not to say that other people couldn't do a better job. Though I'm sure there are other people that have similar. Did you ever try to start a miniature garden at home? Let us know. Hit us up on Twitter at Party of 2Pod. But when it comes to the land, there doesn't really need to be any sort of Disney integration, and I think putting any Disney integration would be really forced.
I think
there isn't a natural connection.
Like the Mickey head shaped shrubberies.
It's a Pokestop.
Like I've said before, ladies and gentlemen, learn something new from my husband every single day.
I do what I can.
I think that is the perfect amount of what they can and should do in terms of any sort of franchising or hidden Mickeys or nods.
Or here you go. In you replace the last scene with the video where it's Disney characters planting stuff.
Oh, now that would be cute.
Something as simple as that. Nothing or instances of some sort of growing, because the only real there's only one franchise that has to do with farming,
mm-hmm.
and we will never speak of it because it ruined 2D animation for Disney, and rightfully so, because it was an awful movie. But I think there's your opportunity there. You do like main 6, main 5, or whatever group of the main folks of like Chippendale taking care of a tree or whatever. And there, boom, you have your character integration, but it doesn't touch the land.
And they can make a new short for that too.
Oh yeah, sure. You could make or flippin' just play the Potato Land short.
No.
But yeah, the land's fine,
which is great.
Yeah, the land doesn't really need anything, and the magic was inside it all along. And thank God that there's no more Food Rocks or Kitchen Cabaret. if you have
I'd like some Bonnie Appetit somewhere.
You know what? No.
He's creepy. I love her.
I
love her.
I don't want it. And that's like I'm not poo-pooing anybody who's a fan of Kitchen Cabaret. I just like there is and I'm a fan of a silly animatronic show in the form of the Country Bear Jamboree, but when it came to Kitchen Cabaret, man, I think there's a way to do it, and that wasn't it. And then they went
weird.
They went in the wrong direction with Food Rocks, and everything has its fans. More power to you, bless your heart, but it's not my cup of tea. That's what I'd say. What is there anything else from the land that you would like to add?
Well, I think the other challenge would be they just don't necessarily have the space to add so much. But I really think that the land is probably the strongest pavilion currently in Future World. That's my opinion. Or at least once Awesome Planet opens, it will be. I think then it's going to be legit solid. It's going to be the perfect mesh of something new, something original, harkening back to OG Epcot Center while still maintaining its message and still being fresh and relevant. I think that right now it's kind of the pavilion to bet on if you were to like imagine all of these different pavilions going into a race of some sort.
Yeah. I think the only other thing would be to widen the walkways, add an extra escalator, whatever. Little things here and there. Maybe just something to simplify the entrance. But I think, again, once Awesome Planet opens, things might make a little more sense.
Yeah.
But who knows? If you have a way that you want to improve the Land Pavilion, or if you want to just talk our ear off about Food Rocks or Kitchen Cabaret, or have an idea for how Living with the Land should end, or I'm sorry, living with the land should end. Please let us know. Contact us on Twitter using @PartyOf2Pod. That's our Twitter. Follow us there. We also post pictures of our adventures. We retweet news, etc., etc. Give you our takes on stuff as it happens, instead of just waiting for one of our weekly episodes to drop. But until next time, where we will just say now, we're going to be talking about the Seas Pavilion. Please contact us on Twitter there, or you can find us on our personal accounts. Andrea, what's yours?
You can find me at DoleWhipDrea, not just on Twitter, but also on Instagram. Just send me a request, and I will approve you.
Yeah, your Instagram game, pretty on point.
Oh, thank you.
Pretty solid. Pretty dang good. And you can follow me at Mark B. Donica. If you're a fan of cartoons, I also do a couple of other shows over on Rooster Team Radio, which is also on Anchor. And if you're a fan of the show, if you're just finding us for the first time, or you've been listening for a long time, give us a review over on iTunes. Please, it'll help us out. If you're listening to the show on iTunes, just click through, leave us a review. We'd really appreciate it. More people will be able to find the show. If you're watching us, or if you're listening to us on YouTube, find us on iTunes or your podcast provider of choice, Spotify, what have you. Leave us reviews. We do have plans for the YouTube channel, and we hope to enact those by the time D23 comes around.
Yeah, definitely.
But until next time, thank you so much for living with us, and we'll see you on the next land.